Hello and welcome back to Smarty R. Today there's a request from Nizam Ahmed. It's something I've done before and I've decided to follow through with the request and just do a simple how I do the engine bay cleaning of my Smart ForFour, which is the 453 model range. So I've sped up quite a lot of this. It's only a 7-minute video in total. You don't need to watch me unscrewing everything, so I've sped it up. Apologies for my attire. I knew I was going to get a bit dirty today, and I've been doing a couple of other things around the garage, so I've got some scruffy stuff on. So here we have it. She's rather a tacky looking, grubby little thing, but not as bad as I've seen some, and definitely not as bad as the old 451s I used to have. So let's get started on how we're going to clean this. Now there's some important things to be mindful of, and particularly all these connector blocks, these electrical connectors. You want to try and avoid those as much as you can, so I won't be putting any degreaser or anything on those. Little tip, top of a spray can and some gunk engine degreaser, that's what I'm going to be using today. You could just pour some of the degreaser into the top of the spray can and a good old trusty detailing brush. Some half dirty rags just to mop up some moisture and some water, and this is it. So let's get into it. So you don't need a lot of this stuff. It's quite strong, quite potent. I've always used it in the past, and it's really good at getting not just the oil off as a degreaser would do, but it really does help sometimes rejuvenate some of the plastics and the rubbers without degrading the chemicals in there and affecting its integrity and performance. So, promote cracking. So I'm going to work methodically, top down, right to left to right, and again avoiding all these all these electrical components. So let's just make a start, and I'm just going to be quiet now, and you can just hum amongst yourselves. So as I've said, I've worked methodically and gone over everything but except the electrical connections that I can openly see, and this is what it looks like. It doesn't really look a great deal of difference at first scan, but it is. It's just the light. It was quite bright in Wales as well. Next thing, I'm going to go and run the engine before I start to rinse off the gunk. I would always recommend this. In the past, having not run the engine, it could be a bit of a pain getting it restarted. So I've got a very soft shower or a spray attached to a hose. Thinking about it, I probably should have protected the backrests of the material first, but again, just using the brush to agitate and release any of the dried gunk and residue, just spraying off, trying to avoid as much direct contact as I can with those electrical connectors. Honestly, I know it probably doesn't look it, but I'm not spraying directly onto those electrical blocks. Again, just working methodically, making sure everything is cleaned. And swap over onto the other side. What you didn't see comically was the tripod actually got knocked over by me moving around trying to get the other angle. There we go. So with the engine running, you can see the steam coming off, but always avoid the auxiliary belt and try not to really spray into the top of the cap at all, and get as much moisture away from there as possible. I'm going to do another little video on things I've seen cropping up a lot lately on the 453 engine, and that is mayonnaise in the top of the oil filler cap. So literally just going to start methodically moving around the engine bay, mopping up the moisture that's been left behind. Not a great deal to say really, but just be mindful again, try not to knock any of those electrical connectors. As you'll see in a moment, I'm going to use some WD-40 or water expellent to seal and drive out any moisture that may have gotten into the electrics at all. But honestly, I've been doing this for 30 years on my own cars in no different way at all. I might sometimes put a finger of a glove over some of the electrical components, but generally don't use a jet wash in your engine bay. Big no, really bad. Just use a little spray can, a little brush, or very light pressure on your ordinary hose pipe just to rinse it off. And that's it. Just work your way around the cabin, soaking up any moisture. I really should have covered those back seats with something, shouldn't I? I'll be paying for that tomorrow. I'll be literally going into the car and there will be fogged up windows, I'm sure of it. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. There's 71, 72 videos now in the library covering petrol, diesel, the smart 451s, so smart for 2s and smart for 4s now on the 453. If you have any requests, please just pop one in the comments. So let's have a little look. As you can see, there's still moisture being burnt off or evaporated by the heat of the engine as it's running. I can't really tell a great deal of difference, so I don't think it was really in that much of a state, to be honest. Now I'm just giving it liberal amounts of WD-40, particularly paying attention to the electrical connectors and the open wires that I can see they're not covered, and that will push out and expel any moisture moving forward. Almost done now. See, it's quite quick. You can do this in probably 10 minutes once you've got the engine bay cover off. So I think, as well as I've mentioned, expelling any water that might be sitting, it also does tend to rejuvenate some of the plastics and the rubbers as well, without affecting its integrity. I think it looks alright. And then with a nice clean cloth, just give it a wipe over. And that's it. Pretty good job, I think so. It does look a little better, but I think you have to be there. But that's it for now, so I think it's cup of tea time. Have a great one.